Okay, you're good.
Okay, I'm going to call to order tonight's meeting of the Finance Committee. Today is Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. The time is 4:30. I'm Lauren McNally, Fifth Ward City Councilperson and Chairwoman. As usual, I will do the roll call for everybody. So speak up if I don't catch your name here. But Jennifer Ozinger, Rick Deek, Anita Davis, Beverly Hosey, Chief Davis, Chuck Shasho, Dana Lance, David Magura, Don Turnage, Demaine Kitchen, Aaron Bishop, Harry Johnson, Jonathan Huff, Julius Oliver, Kyle Mizak, Michael Turner, Mike Durkin, Mike Ray, Nikki Posterly, Samantha Turner, Tito Brown, Valencia Morrow, Jean Leeson. I think I got everybody. All right, I'm going to move on to item number 2 under pending legislation. We have ordinance number 1 here. It's the renewal for the police department grant writer contract. Are there questions on this one? Samantha?
Thank you. Through the chair, I see that there is a slight increase from last year. Just wanted to know, since we don't see the contract, what that the increase is for. And then I guess this question might be for the chief. I know that she does send over the data information for us for our reports. Do you see any changes being made for this contract position?
I'm not sure if maybe Kyle can help out on the cost.
Through the chair, I'm looking up her contract from last year. I don't know what they sent up in comparison, so give me a moment and I'll see what we paid. Through the chair, last year's contract paid out was $33,318. If they provided her with a wage increase over that contract, that would be something that I have not seen yet because this is the legislation, so Border Control doesn't have it. But let me see what 1% would be, about $300. So they might have given her a 1% raise, similar to what the police unions received. But like I said, this is the ordinance, so Border Control has not seen the contract. But I would believe that's what it is, a 1% increase.
Thanks, Kyle. I know we have our new welcome to Chief Davis, our new police chief. This is his first meeting. So I'm not sure how caught up to speed he is quite yet. I think it's only been a day on the job for him. So if anyone else could perhaps help him out during this meeting, that'd probably be good. Samantha, did you?
We can circle back, but just that question is if he sees any changes, and I'll circle back with you, Chief Davis. Thank you.
So you're looking if there's going to be any changes to her job description?
Yeah, if he sees any changes going forward with this particular contract as the new chief. So I'm sure Chief Lee's probably put this up. So just wanting to know what his ideas are for this contract. But I can circle back with Chief Davis. Oh, is he on?
Okay. He is on.
Okay.
I'm assuming the contract probably looks the same as last year's, and maybe the law department, if they drafted it, could help. But I'll let Chief Davis if he has anything.
Okay, yes, I'm looking into that, Samantha. From what I understand, this was an agreement with Chief Lee's, and our former fiscal officer, Captain Jason Simon. They agreed to I believe it was a 1% pay hike for her. I understand that before it was 33,318, and that would make it now 33,700. But like I said, that was something that was done before I got here, but I'll look into that for you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions on this contract? Okay. Samantha, are you good then? Okay. Item number 2 here is the renewal of Guy Bernie's contract for Serve. Are there questions on this one?
Through the chair, can I just give you a little education so that everybody kind of has a background on this?
Go ahead, Kyle.
The 12 months, each month, this is a professional service agreement. Guy is paid roughly $5,416 a month. 3 of the months actually are paid for and come out of an annual grant. So about 16,250 of it is paid for by a grant. And then the remainder is budgeted under the police department operating expenses under CIRV. So the combination of the city and state money cover his total wage that is paid to him under the professional service agreement.
Thanks, Kyle. I think Councilman Hughes just joined us for the record. Any other questions on Guy Bernie's contract? Okay. Item number 3 here. Questions on this one? Anita?
Yeah, through the chair. I don't know. What year is this?
Through the
2021?
chair.
Is
These
that
are for- These are for expenses in 2020.
Uh-huh.
There was an issue, I believe, with Captain Simon and with Motorola on what the ultimate cost was going to be for those services. There was a bunch of back and forth, and ultimately it was agreed to in December, past time council would meet. So this is why it's coming up to put in place so that we can make this payment that has been encumbered for 2020.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Anita.
So will we have another one coming up for 2021?
Through the chair, we will. The question's going to be, are we going to have to wait as long? Because there seems to be a concern over what we're actually paying, what services we're being charged for. And that's why there was a delay in council approving this first one. It is my hope that Ron and Jason have the opportunity to discuss this with Motorola so that we can have a contract for 2021 in front of you sooner than what has occurred this past year.
Thank you.
Samantha?
Thank you through the chair. My question actually was to explain what this covers. So if Jason could bring us up to speed on what this covers and what has happened at some point. I don't think he's on the call, but that would be helpful.
Samantha, we can ask the chief, but that may now be coming from Ronnie Barber, who has a new responsibility as the fiscal officer.
Thank you, Ronnie Barber.
Anything else? Okay. Number 4 is off the agenda. Number 5, questions here. Samantha?
Thank you. This question is for Cal. Cal, can you explain the benefits of us going self-insured with United? Just quickly, in the coverage offerings, like what's the benefit of us doing this and what's the savings we shall see with this route?
The benefit starts in twofold. One, in the past, we were fully insured, so we paid a premium to Anthem, which, again, is a markup on our cost, and they reaped all of the benefits. And what are those benefits? First, cost. When you are in a fully insured plan, the plan is required to pay the state of Ohio the insurance premiums tax. That tax rate is 1.4% on everything over $250. So instead of by us going to self-insured, we are no longer required to pay that premium. So instead of it being passed on to us in the price of our premium by Anthem, we are now saving that. That is the first bottom line savings. Second bottom line savings, which is the largest savings. When you are fully insured, the insurance company takes all the risk, but it also receives all of the benefits. And what are those benefits? Those benefits are drug rebates. Anthem reaps all of the drug rebates that are applied back for our insured who utilize those new drugs that are out there in the market that are trying to gain market share. So there are agreements between the insurance companies and the doctors to push certain drugs. Well, instead of those rebates now going back to Anthem, those rebates will come directly back to the city. And I can only go into a little of this, but we spend in excess of roughly $1.6 million on 7 different drugs. And these are unique drugs that cost more than $10,000 to $15,000 a month. So we will now start getting rebates on those drugs that will ultimately lower our pharmacy component of our medical insurance. Another reason that we are moving over is the idea that when Anthem prices our premium year over year change, they're pricing in what they believe is going to, one, cover all of the claims that the city has, but also build in to make some profit. We want to move away from that model where there is going to be no profit on the premiums that we are paying ourselves. In essence, we are moving these monies from the departments, putting them on the books in the city, and then we are paying those claims. We are going to pay United Healthcare to be our third-party administrator. They're going to charge us a monthly fee for that claims administration per our 600 and roughly 50 employees. That number changes based on, again, how much we have in employment, but that is a fixed amount. We're also going to, on a monthly basis, have stop loss protection and an aggregate stop loss on top of that. That, again, is to limit what our exposure is above certain claim totals. One of the things that we really strive for in these negotiations, and we were surprised that Anthem was not willing to match what United Healthcare came to the table with, but United Healthcare has agreed to that the maximum that we will pay over our threshold is 115%. Both Anthem and Medical Mutual came in at 125%. So our ceiling on catastrophic claims is much lower under United Healthcare. And so when you look at the combination of rebates, the cost that they were going to charge us for an admin fee, and the fact that our stop aggregate loss ceiling is much lower, we felt that that is why we chose to move away from from Anthem to United Healthcare. From Anthem to United Healthcare. In addition, United Healthcare agreed to give us a $100,000 credit before the end of 2021 towards the per employee monthly rate as a implementer credit. So they wanted to win our business and they passed that credit on to us. So ultimately, our out of pocket, and let me take this for a second, if we were to assume that we have 650 employees working for a full year, all 12 months under this contract, it would cost us normally $143,676 for that admin fee. In the end, it'll only cost us $43,676 because we have negotiated a $100,000 credit that they will pay to the city before the end of 2021. Those are the reasons that we are moving away from Anthem and going to self-insured.
Thank you through the chair. I have a direct follow-up. Thank you, Cal, for that. My next question is the coverage. Is it comparable network offerings, people with pre-existing conditions? Is this going to be comparable coverage, and when does this all take effect?
Okay, first, it takes effect on February 1st. We have mirrored our coverage to be nearly identical. And I say nearly because there are some very small changes, and those are changes just because of one, the doctors that are under contract may be different with United compared to Anthem. So you could ultimately not have the luxury of having your doctor currently having an arrangement with United Healthcare. That's very slim, but it is a possibility. Pre-consisting issues are not going to pose any problem for any employees. We made sure, and that was part of when we went out with our RFP, that we notified those that were bidding that they had to assume all of that risk and responsibility. They have, and we shared all of these concerns with the insurance committee. The insurance committee voted in favor of making this move. And we are coming to council for the purpose of, because we're now going to be making, in essence, we're going to be paying for this admin cost on a monthly basis. So that's why we need your approval. You're approving that we have that authority to make that expenditure. But yes, we have worked through a number of meetings and setting up the new coverage. And the law department, myself, and the risk department sat for 3 hours through a process of going through and making sure that what coverage is being provided nearly is or is identical to what we currently have. And no one's actual out-of-pocket costs are changing. They're all staying the same, other than employee health and premiums are going up by 10% for everybody on February 1st.
Samantha?
Thank you. Again, thank you, Cal. One more question. Who is responsible in the department to process the premium, process the rebates we have coming, and manage this process, our self-insured process?
Through the chair. The actual self-insured process, the third-party administrative process, is going to be handled by United Healthcare. They're actually going to be processing the claims and paying the claims. They will be doing exactly what Anthem does, other than they won't be collecting a monthly premium check from the city. They will be billing us weekly for claims. Those claims will been scrubbed by them like they are by Anthem, and then they will draw down those funds on a weekly basis from the city. We will work with them on a monthly basis with our consultants, where we will be getting reports. Those reports are only going to be shared with 2 people up in law, because they're going to have information on them that, because we're going to be self-insured, is going to be private information, but there will be reports generated that finance and law will be able to review to, one, verify that we're kind of tracking in the way we believe we will be tracking with regards to our claim costs. But one of the things that I want to point out, as I did in one of our earlier meetings, we moved from dental and vision last year. And as a result of us paying our own claims and again, using Anthem to administer the program and paying them an admin fee, based on keeping premiums identical, the city has already set aside from 11 months of activity, $66,000 that are on our books. And our hope is that we will be able to get off to a good start with United Healthcare, because one thing you need to remember, there's going to be a lag here. Anthem is going to be responsible for all the claim costs that are going to be incurred before January 31st. As our employees start going to their doctors and making visits for any type of emergency or for a medical appointment, there's going to be a lag there. So my hope is in 2021, we will build up a nice sizable reserve because of just the lag. But once we get 12 months behind us, we'll be able to evaluate based on the based on the premiums that we're setting aside and looking at the claim activity payout. How are we trending? Are we trending where we're saving money per month? Are we trending where it's break even? And it's my hope once those rebates start getting applied, and the rebates do not get paid directly to the city. What happens is the rebates get paid to Anthem based on the drugs. And then Anthem is required to provide us with a monthly breakdown of how much rebate money has been provided back to the city that will be returned to us once that process begins. And that process will probably take 4 to 5 month lag, and then it'll be continuous on a month to month going forward. So yes, we will be able to provide you with some insight. Some of those reports we'll be able to share, and some of them we won't be able to share because of HIPAA restrictions. And that is why there's going to be 2 people in the law department that will be responsible for that.
Thanks, Kyle. Mike?
Yes, through the chair. Thank you, Lauren. Kyle, and you may have said this, and I don't know if it was, if we're using the same terminology, but I know that I believe currently it's a PPO. Is it still considered a PPO, or what's the classification? Does that change? Because you said it's virtually the same.
To the chair, yes, it is still a PPO.
Okay, thank you.
Julius?
Thank you, through the chair. Kyle, you might have answered this for me already, but who's the primary people within the administration that negotiated this?
Through the chair, it was myself and it was Dana Lance.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this? Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. My final question is the savings that we got last year in the 66,000 and in the savings we're incurring going forward, is that being set aside in its own separate fund to continue to offset our medical expenses?
Through the chair, when we set up these on the books, we created a separate, it's one fund, the self-insurance fund, but we are tracking dental and vision separately. So we actually have a breakdown of what we are saving under each of those coverages. We will do the same for medical so that, again, we don't want to commingle the data and the materials, but yes, these funds are restricted. They can only be used to either do one of 2 things, either give the funds back, meaning the 10% that the employees are paying, and then the remaining funds are the city's 90%, if there are funds still, in available. But the most important thing is they need to be set aside and left there as a reserve, because we could have years where claim activity could be higher, and that reserve will then absorb those increases without possibly us having to pass along any premium increases to the city and into the employees. But ultimately, this money is set aside and restricted for the use of medical, dental, and vision insurance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Are there any other questions on this piece? Okay. Up next is item number 6. Other questions here for Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. This question is for Mike Durkin. I see that this piece of legislation has gone down 600,000 from last year. Can you explain why it's gone down and how that will affect our ability to demo structures?
The reason, first, through the chair, the reason for the decrease is obviously, was there a huge reduction in the sanitation and demolition, fund with the funds going back to the water department. So, which it amounts to, I believe, Kyle can correct me if I'm wrong, 2.5 million for the entire year. It's basically just a cautious move. We can always come back to council if there is money towards the end of the year to do another contract. I just want to make sure that, first and foremost is to keep our sanitation division running constantly. It is the most important thing. The sanitation or the demolitions are our, I don't want to say luxury, but those are the things that we can scale back on or increase. Sanitation workers, sanitation trucks, things like that. We cannot do that. We have to operate that at a full staff. So that is part of the reason for the reduction. And we will be able to do approximately the beginning of this year, 30 residential homes, and leaving us a little bit of money to handle some commercial entities that may come up as far as, emergency demolitions go.
Samantha.
Thank you. Through the chair, Cal, then my next question is for you with that. How much did we spend last year on demolition?
Through the chair, on demolition, meaning, are you talking about dumping fees, homes coming down, all the costs, or are you just asking about demo contracts?
Demo contracts.
Mike, I don't have that offhand. Do you know that where you could assist?
Through the chair, yeah. If Samantha, if you're just wanting to know strictly demo contracts, yes, I can give you that answer. There are a plethora of other costs involved with demolition that total up the total budget for contract demolition. We spent $615,235.
Thank you. And that just for a point of clarity, that includes what we've done in-house as well as what we've contracted out, or just out of the 1 million we allocated last year, we spent 615.
That's strictly contract demolition, and that is only demolition. That is not anything else. Testing, and that is not our demolition department.
Okay.
That's strictly contract demolition.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions on this piece? Okay, thank you, Mr. Durkin. We'll move on to number 7. Questions here. I don't see anything. Okay, move on to number 8. Questions here. Oh, Anita, sorry.
Yes, through the chair. Chief, how much was spent from last year's budget with this company? How much of your budget was spent that was allocated for this year for the fleet parts?
Okay. Yeah, Anita, and I have Ronnie Barber here, Sergeant Barber here with me. He's probably better equipped to answer that, but he's right here next to me, if you don't mind him answering.
So I'm just gonna hang on real quick, just for the record, so that we have you on. Ronnie Barber's joined the meeting, and go ahead.
Okay, through the chair. So we looked at it. I looked at numbers over the last number of years, and in short, Councilwoman Davis, I don't have the exact specific number that you're looking for. I can get that for you. With these two companies, what we learned, and Kyle and I talked about this at the end of last year, that there was a historical record of around 25,000 at the beginning of the year. It carries us through, and then on the back half of the year, between 15 and 20, sometimes closer to 25. So we talked about just coming to council through legislation at the beginning of the year with each of these entities one time for the rest of the year. And rather than allocating for part of the year and then coming back a second time for the back half of the year, the numbers appear to be somewhere around the high 30s into the 40s with each of them as we maintain the fleet.
Okay, follow up to the chair.
Anita?
Yeah, so if you could you get that information and let me know like what the inventory is like? If we
Okay,
have-
yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Same thing with item number 9.
Are there any more questions on 8? Sorry. Okay. And number 9 here. Any more questions besides Anita's request? Okay. Number 10, questions on this. Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. This question is for Mike. Again, I see that we've decreased down 10,000 with People Ready. Can you just explain the rationale with how we handle the labor force in environmental sanitation?
Mr. Turner, if that one's for you.
I'm here. I'm here. Sorry, through the chair.
Oh, okay,
Through the
Mr.
chair. Couldn't
Durkin.
get it unmuted. Through the chair. Okay, so People Ready is a temp service that we use to supplement our sanitation workers. We have 9 trucks, 9 drivers, and 1 bulk truck. So if somebody takes vacation, we have a route to do with 9 trucks. If somebody takes vacation, then that 1 truck is down. Now we're down to 8 trucks, and then those crews that are left have to pick up the slack. The People Ready is used for either sick leave or vacation. And you know, this year, obviously, we use it for COVID. And they are used just to supplement these workers. So they ride along with the driver and jump out to get the extras to move the drivers along faster. So to jump out and get the other bulk items that are out there. And I don't mean like couches and chairs and furniture and such. We have a truck dedicated to that. I'm talking bags or, you know, any extra thing that is not contained within the dedicated cart. So they do supplement that, you know, and try to keep us moving along, because at the end of the day, we have to get every route done. And I'm sure all of you at one point have received a complaint if we're not able to complete a route that day. You know, what happens. So that's what the People Ready is for, to help us supplement that situation.
Julius?
Thank you, through the chair. Mike, so is there, are there certain like legally binding reasons why we you know, go with the temp service rather than using, like, you know, say Jonathan Bentley's workforce database? Like, are we, you get what I'm saying? Or would the money be better spent if we just directly hired like Youngstown citizens, or do we have to deal with a temporary agency for like union reasons or anything like that?
Through the chair, you're correct, Councilman. The contract does not allow us to hire part-time personnel at this time. That is something that we can, you know, work towards the future, but right now we don't have partner. And when I say hire part-time, that means permanent part-time personnel. This union contract does allow us to use this temporary service because it is just that, it's temporary. They're not used every day. There's no mandate with regards to using how many we use every day. They're, you know, it could be 1 this week and 10 next week. It all depends on our load. And the thing is, we don't need them all the time. So, you know, I wouldn't like to hire part-time personnel and then we have to, you know, do all the other things that are involved with having part-time personnel. This way we hire them, you know, we pay them the fee for the day, excuse me, and they're gone. So, At this time, yes, you're correct. The contract does kind of keep us from doing that.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Any other questions on this piece? Councilman Ray?
Thank you, Councilwoman McNally. One more question for Mike Durkin. So, I mean, in a sense, you're using this as truly temporary labor that they're actual temps that come in to fill gaps due to vacations, illnesses, or increased workload in a true temporary fashion.
Through the chair, that's correct, Councilman. The only thing, they cannot drive the truck. There's obviously a quite extensive hiring process with regards to, ODOT and things like that. So they cannot they cannot drive the truck. They're there just to assist with picking up, like I said, those items and keeping the process moving along faster.
A temporary laborer.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I'm going to move on to number 11, questions on this piece. Don't see anything. Number 12, questions on this piece. Number 13. Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. This is a increase from last year. Can you talk to us, Mike, about the state of our demolition equipment?
Through the chair, Samantha, this one for power plan is not an increase. It's exactly what we had last year, 65,000. Last year we spent $54,272.66. I actually could have reduced it a little bit, but I chose to keep it the same amount simply because our equipment is getting older. And this is for our excavating equipment, our excavators, which are costly as far as even our maintenance is costly on these. So our general maintenance, scheduled maintenance. So this is a costly item. Yes, it is increasing as they get older. But for the most part, we don't break down that often, and they are operating quite well right now.
Samantha?
Thank you. Direct follow-up. So the state of our fleet in demolition is in good shape, and we are just doing light maintenance on them, or I know that we're getting a truck this year, but is the overall state of the fleet in good standing, or do you feel we need to begin looking at investing in our equipment?
Through the chair, most of our equipment is in good shape. I wouldn't say great shape. I would say good shape. But you have to remember that it gets used every day. One of the things that I will try to budget for is a new tractor trailer, which hauls our large loads. We have 2 Cat trucks right now who are they're killing us in maintenance costs. And it's really not that they're old. They're just not a quality type vehicle that is, needs to do what we're doing, every day, constantly over the road driving. I'm looking at, possibly trying to replace those, but right now we need a sanitation truck more than we need a demolition truck. So we're just weighing these out, and we will try and work those in, but everything is operating. It's just like the maintenance costs on a couple of these items is getting to be a little high.
Okay, thank you very much.
Julius?
Thank you, through the chair. Mike, I know in the military, we had to do like daily preventative maintenance on our vehicles. Are the city sanitation employees trained to do things like that? Or is it by union contract or something, only the mechanics can do maintenance? Or are they put through any type of, training to say, this is your equipment, this is what you use every day, make sure you take care of it, and trying to kind of help the quality of the vehicle, because these vehicles are built to be used every day. So is there any maintenance that's done to them that ensures that happens?
Through the chair. Yeah, so all of the excavation equipment with regards to demolition, sanitation is done by our sanitation mechanic. So I just wanted to clarify that. But our demolition equipment is taken care of through the street department, but on site every day. And you can actually go there. All of that equipment is greased and oiled every day at the scenes. They have their own grease guns. They have their own grease machines. When I talk about the maintenance of them, Councilman, those are the company that comes in, and I'm talking overall maintenance. All of the arms are checked. All of the computer systems are checked. Everything, the electronics, everything is checked and maintained on those. We do a general daily maintenance on all of that equipment. So yes, they are. Excuse me, they are taken care of.
Thank you.
Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. Mike, last January, the purchase order was for 50,000 and it is up to 65,000. So are you saying that you didn't mean for it to be 65,000? I'm reading the exact legislation from January 15th of last year. So are you saying you didn't mean it to be 65 and you want it to be 50, or?
Through the chair, I believe if we check, we increased that in the year because we did have some items there that were costly. And specifically, I'm talking about one of those trucks that I was actually just talking to you about. We had like a $21,000 bill on one of those trucks because of a transmission issue. So we did, I believe we did, because what I have in front of me is I use all of my purchase orders for the year. And my total purchase order totaled 65,000 for Pro Plan, and our expensed out was 54 of that 65. I did increase it because I was afraid we were going to run over there towards the end of the year. I just don't know when I did. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you for that clarity.
Mike, since it sounds like we're probably going to be doing some less demolition this year, did you have you factored any of that into some of these bills that you have on here today?
Through the chair, yes, I have. And really, it's hard to keep some of these costs down as far as the maintenance and fixing the equipment because the work is still being done. Where I have decreased it dramatically is obviously on the demolition end of it, the demolition costs, the amount of demolition that we will be doing. So everything will be going down, gradually, fuel costs, things of that nature. So when it comes to the contract demolition, that's where we will save our significant funds.
Thanks, Mike. Anything else for Mr. Durkin on this, on item number 14? Okay, I'm going to move to item number 15. Looks like we need a new sanitation truck. Mike, do you want to tell us what's going on there?
Sure, through the chair. Right now, I wanted to get this all out to council, but I'm in your packet. Did you receive the quote for the new truck? I'm not sure if you did or not. The quote was $347,503, and it is with Bell, which is the equipment or the company that we use right now to keep it all the same as far as maintenance goes, and the parts and things like we have everything stocked. We might be able to do a little bit better in price, but it would not really behoove us to do that simply because we have everything we need to fix this truck should it break down in the future. I mean, past its maintenance or its warranty. We have 9 trucks right now. One of them is 9 years old. That was the one that we purchased that was 3 years old. So right now it's 9 years old. It has 104,000 miles on it and almost 11,000 hours of operation. It does break down here and there. So, we are trying to, keep it going. I would like to restart with replacing that truck, and then just every year, or every couple of years, try and work a new truck in. because obviously these all have, I mean, and basically they are all within 4,000 miles of each other. They're all within less than 500 hours of operation. So, you know, they're all equally, all the same parts are breaking at the same time. So I would like to, you know, stagger some of these so that we can, you know, not have this on a regular basis.
Anita?
Actually, I don't have a question on this one. I want to go back to 14. So I'll wait.
Okay. Okay. Mike, what, when we, so is 10 years the average lifespan of a truck? Like, what are we gonna do with this one that you're specifically talking about that's getting old?
Through the chair, I actually am going to talk to Mike Turner about that once it does come time to do it, to see how it's going. It would be nice to have one truck, should we have an emergency like a wreck or something happen, to have one truck available to us to, you know, bam, you know, get right back in service instead of shutting the truck down and then, you know, having to spread the routes out. So it would be nice for us to have one spare truck. And also, we have to remember that we maintain each a truck every day is in maintenance, trying to get those trucks on the regular maintenance schedule that we do. And so far, the mechanics on there have been doing a bang up job, and we are on a pretty well set maintenance schedule now. And it does seem to be helping as far as you know, some of the regular problems that we've run into. But it just seems like at certain miles or certain hours that certain parts are breaking down, and you know, we have welds breaking all the time and different things like that. So it is just the nature of the beast with these trucks. They run 1,400 to 1,500 miles a month. They, you know, we take 26, 27. I think last year was 2019 was 26,000 some odd tons of garbage, and last year was 28,000. This year, 2020, was 28,000. So there was a significant increase in what we're hauling. So the trucks are getting beat up. So I just believe it's something that we need to move forward to, simply because, you know, they are going to get older. And if we do it on a slow basis, we don't have to be behind the 8 ball buying 3, 4, 5 trucks at a time. It's just easier to budget
Councilman
also.
Ray? Oh, sorry, Dirk, and I cut you off there. What was that?
It's just easier to budget instead of buying the, you know, all at once like that.
Gotcha. Okay, Councilman Ray?
Thank you, through the chair. Mike, so just a couple quick, we do have 8 routes, is that correct? With 7 routes and 1 bulk follow truck, and then the 9th truck has been the spare, so 1 is always basically in maintenance, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and I do agree with the philosophy of replacing them and stagger them, because we did buy them all around the same time we started the sanitation program. It sounds like, though, even with these costs, and I know some were, you know, unforeseeable, the trucks are more maintenance than we probably initially thought, though. But however, all that factored in, was just still cheaper to manage in-house than it was going out to contract, much like we're managing our healthcare costs by doing it internally. So we're still seeing a value there. Is that true? I don't know if that's more of a Kyle or you question, but I just want to get that barometer. Thank you.
Through the chair, Mike, I'll let Kyle answer that as far as like that, because you know, obviously I wasn't here, but over the 5 years, what I see is that, you know, the extreme return on our end of it. You know, because of the demolition. I mean, that part of it, you know, was always going to be there. That's not going to go away for, you know, quite a few years. And, you know, that does help assist with that a little bit. And on the sanitation end, you know, I'll let Kyle answer that as far as our return on the money, but I believe it definitely is working.
To the chair, definitely we have seen a positive return. The one area that kind of puts a strain on that return is just the distance the vehicles have to drive every day once they get filled up. You know, that wasn't taken into account, just the wear and tear of making that trip day in and day out. The vehicles themselves, remember, these are a 10-year lease life cycle, and when you think about the fact that we acquired them all at the same time, Mike is trying to, dance that difficult dance of trying to, how do I provide as these vehicles slowly start, to break down, and we get to that point where eventually, we're going to have to set one aside. We've been, in the last 2 years, placing those funds in the budget, but we've decided not to expend them. Now that we have this roll-off truck and some of the synergies that we're going to be able to utilize that vehicle with and save on the wear and tear of our fleet, should start to, in addition to the positive return, make those returns even higher, because hopefully the trucks themselves will not break down as often. It's a possibility, but in the end, acquiring that roll-off truck and replacing, or at least getting another one of the garbage trucks, will help sustain the longer life cycle of the initial 10. And when you start looking at if there's even another possibility of doing another one next year, if the budget provides for it, it will help us generate a higher return. But yes, getting back to the initial question, you definitely have seen a return of between 7 and 10% as a result of us having in-house mechanics, being able to, on a daily basis, look those trucks over. And the fact that we've not had any large issues where the fleet has been down and been down for a number of days, where it then had to catch back up. That does put additional stress on the vehicles. So hopefully we're able to stay away from that. And I think, like Mike has said, replacing and getting an extra one will go a long way with helping to alleviate the stress on those current fleets.
Thanks, Kyle. Are there any other questions on this piece, number 15? All right, I'm going to go back to number 14 for Anita.
Right.
To the chair, I might have missed it. On 13, the total spend, the total was 65,000, and it was to power plan. But on 14, it was 75,000 to Ohio Machinery. So I was wondering why the difference in the cost in the two different companies.
Through the chair, Councilwoman, the power plan is strictly for the excavators, the heavy equipment. And Ohio Machinery does all of our other trucks. Our dump trucks are, all of our load trucks, the trucks that haul the large loads over the road, the tractor trailers, that's what they handle, all of that type of equipment.
Okay. And through the chair, is this an increase, Mike, from last year or no?
Through the chair, no, it's exactly the same.
All right.
Last year we spent $67,178.
I'm sorry, what was that, 67,178?
Yes, correct.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay. I'm going to go down to number 16. Everyone good? Okay, moving down to number 16. Questions here. This is Grant. Okay. Number 17. Questions here. Samantha.
Thank you, through the chair. Cal, can you just let me know, you go into appropriating the 24,000 into Fund 1202. Can you, where is the money coming from?
Through the chair, I can look that up. Just give me a minute. Chief Davis may know a little only better, only because again, these are monies that are typically collected by the state and then shared with us. But just give me a moment. I'll look up exactly where some of that money, who the vendor was that paid us. Chief Davis, can you help on this one? Because I don't have much involvement in discussing these funds.
Okay, through the chair. Yeah, from what I understand, some of those funds were from forfeitures used for drug investigations.
Okay, through the chair. Looking back, this fund for the last 3 years, when you look at how much we actually collect on a yearly basis, it is around $1,100 a year. The last time we expended money out of this fund, if you give me a moment, we spent nothing in 20, nothing in 19, nothing in 18. So we have not expended any money out of these funds in the last 4 years. It's been slowly just increasing year over year as court fines and forfeitures come in from the courts. That's where those monies get deposited. So this fund, 2102. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I had 2105, which is DUI law enforcement. I apologize. This is drug law enforcement. Let me verify that again.
I was about to say.
I apologize. So, okay, the majority of this money on a yearly basis is coming in from the courts. The courts are collecting money on drug law fines here locally, and those monies get sent over from Sarah Brown Clark and are deposited here. Last year, we collected roughly $6,500. And if you go back a year, we collected $7,000. So we're collecting about $6,000 to $7,000 a year from these fines. And then those monies are expended typically in small amounts to acquire things that the police department believes it needs. But there's no restrictions on how those funds can be expended. In 19, $14,000 was expended, and all of that was for drug buy money, where they were requested to use $2,000 at a time to use internally for drug buys. How the police department, once those monies are released by the finance department, how they get used, that would be a conversation probably not appropriate here, but with Chief Davis.
Right. Thank you. Just a direct follow-up through the chair. So the funds coming in to it, this 24,000 came from court costs and fines related to drug cases, and it goes into this fund for them to use.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anita?
To the chair, Cal, so these funds can only be used for police equipment and drug buys? Is it restricted like that?
Through the chair, I'm looking back at how some of these monies are used in the past. I'm not aware of any restrictions. Most of it has been used in the past for drug buy use. But in 2018, we did use $14,300, and I think we bought a new dog that could sniff out drugs because we had a Shallow Creek Kennels. I think that's where we purchased our police dogs. So we did use it to acquire either a replacement dog or a new dog.
Kyle,
Yes.
oh, if you said last year we collected 7,000 or whatever, the year before 6,000, how did we get to 24,000?
Well, again, this is
an accumulation?
Yes, through the chair. And of course, there was a large confiscation of cash in 16 that was deposited. It was roughly $17,000.
So they're not spending as it's coming in year after year. This
Correct.
is an accumulation over X amount of years.
That is correct.
And they it's just at a point where they want to spend it now? Or is there a plan around this?
Through the chair, at the end of 2020, 20. Cash wise, there is $77,000 in that fund.
Okay,
I mean, it
okay,
pales in
I
Chair,
understand now.
it pales in
I
comparison.
gotcha.
The DUI law enforcement fund, 2105, has $14,000 in it. The drug law, like I said, has 77.
Okay, they're just trying to take out this amount right now to spend on this particular item.
Yes, that's what they're asking
Okay.
for. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, Julius.
Thank you. Through the chair. So formerly I had conversations with Chief Lees about the state basically saying that you can use some of this money for youth activities or youth programs. Basically, he would always defer to, we deal with that through SERVE. So is it basically lawful? Because I could never get this answer from Chief Lees. Is it lawful to use these monies to be able to put back into youth activities or police department dealing with youth in order to prevent crime?
Through the chair.
How?
Most of these funds are restricted, but they're restricted by policy, and that policy has to be approved by council. So if council were to have the law department write up a policy of how these funds should be used, and then council approved it, that's how the auditors would audit those funds. So if a new policy is put in front of you, and a policy that you have input on and how those funds get used, and it's passed by council, that is the policy that would be in place, and that's what the state auditors or the third-party auditors would audit that particular fund by, the policy approved by council, because you are the appropriating authority.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anita, sorry.
Chair. So Cal, this fund, is that included as part of the budget for the safety force, for the police department side of the safety forces?
Through the chair, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions here? Okay, that's everything on the agenda under ordinances. Is there anything under miscellaneous? Julia.
Thank you, through the chair. Two questions. I think they're probably both for the mayor. One is there a point to which it's going to be too late for council to vote on this legislation that has to do with the raises for the finance director and the law director? Because I'm waiting for it to come up before us. I haven't seen it yet. So I'm just wondering, is there an expiration on this? Or can this go all year? Or is it about to happen so we can do our due diligence and vote yes or no on that? The second question is the memo coming from your office earlier about increased security, even though there's no threat. I'm just wondering, like, what's the increased security about? Who's it surround? Are if particular individuals getting special details? Is this going to increase overtime for the police department? Has there been some specific threats to courthouses or city hall or something that's supposed to happen during the inauguration that directly affects Youngstown? Or are these security measures being put in place for future events down the line and to be ongoing? I just needed more clarification other than what was in the actual memo.
Councilman, I'll start if you guys can hear me through the chair. The first piece is that we will have legislation, but there's no expiration date on when we can do legislation. So there's no time frame on that. There's no expiration on that. We wanted to get you the information and to see if council had more questions from our finance meeting about those two pieces of legislation. And then we may look at it and tweak a couple of things on there just for clarification. So that there's no expiration on that. So we will have that to council when I believe it's appropriate and when we get things at a point where I think you're comfortable with. Look, you got all the pieces of information you need. Okay, that's the first piece. The second piece is just what we've heard across the nation, across the state, and talking to the governor and his staff. We just wanted to make sure out of abundance of caution. The question was that we know that the capitals will be looked at as well as when for maybe threats to capitals. Then there were questions about soft targets. Everyone is looking at a capital about the inauguration and days leading up to it, or even after that. So we just, I talked with captains and some of our task force to make sure they're on the ready. And we just wanted to make sure that, because there were threats that came out of Columbus for legislators. And then they talked about all public entities and public officials. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we didn't just sit there and say, oh, that's not going to happen in Youngstown. We wanted to make sure that we were ready if something happened. And right now there is no, when I say credible threat, we have not, the FBI of Northeast Ohio did not give us any indication that anybody was focusing on Youngstown. But if you look in a 50-mile radius, there were some individuals who were down at the insurrection from this area. So we just wanted to make sure that we were prepared.
Quick follow-up through the chair.
Sure.
So,
Julius.
so in Youngstown, specifically, as far as our legislative body go, or whether it be congressmen, senators, state reps, mayor, city council, is this increased security for all of us, or is this for, you know what I mean, the courthouse? Like, who are we protecting specifically?
I think all of the above, just not to get into the specifics. When we talk to the operational and how they operate, law enforcement, they look at targets that they believe that could be a potential. It could be the guy or a lady who may want to just bust the windows out of City Hall or at a federal court building. So there are targets, or I may want to just stop by, a state legislator or the mayor's house or a councilperson's house, bust out their windows or do something in that nature. So this is across the state. Many of the mayors across Ohio have implemented some of these, just these steps to be cautious.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate you.
Anita?
The chair, follow up on that. So Mayor, one of the questions that Councilman Oliver asked was about this going to cost us more money. There's not going to be any overtime as a result of this. Is that correct?
Through the chair, there may be there are increased patrol out. Individuals are there during this time. So we may see for overtime during this time frame.
What would generate I'm sorry, you said there is overtime scheduled for this purpose?
Through the chair, there are more patrol out today through the time frame. So if we got an increased patrol there, that could lead to overtime. Yes. So we're putting on a couple more cars and a couple more details. That is the reason that you would see increase in overtime during this time frame.
So there is overtime today.
If the captains have put out increased patrol, yes.
Through the chair,
Anita?
Chief Davis, is there a additional patrol out? Chief?
Yeah, through the chair. Councilman Davis, we have a 4-hour block of officers working extra patrol because we do have we have 2 federal courthouses in this area. So right now they're focusing on the downtown area.
Okay. And that's going to be I don't want to go into all the details because I know there's a security aspect to this. So are we utilizing any of our task force personnel for this?
They have officers, from what I understand, to the chair. Officers were able to sign up. There was a 4-hour block if you wanted to work overtime to concentrate and focus on the federal courthouses downtown.
Okay, thank you.
Julius?
I thank you through the chair. I'm not trying to be smart in any type of way. Please, nobody take it like that. But I got a couple places in my ward where crime is increasing, and I would love to get an increased detail in those areas to patrol. I got a call about a rash of break-ins, and if I could get some overtime to take care of some of these situations, I would love to have a conversation so we can do the same thing throughout the city with our ongoing problems here. Thank you.
Thank you. Just quick comment, Mayor, we did get all the information. I believe we requested at this time for the finance and law director positions. So, you know, I think we're ready to see that legislation at this point. So not to keep dragging it out. And then we do need to talk. I know our budget hearings are committee of the whole, so I don't want to be the one to take charge here, but we need to talk about how we want those to go and get those on the books, because we are staring down the end of January already, and that doesn't leave us a whole lot of time to get everyone's schedules together and get through the whole budget. So I'm gonna ask Kyle, what do you want us to tell you what we want to see? Last year we did not have department heads participate. Do we want to, there was some talk about changing that and going back to the way we used to do it, where we have the department heads participate. I think we need to give Kyle some direction though, and then start scheduling this stuff. Anybody from council have anything they want to throw out there, Mike?
No, I would agree. Let's get that set up. I think, you know, we did it's committee as a whole, so we'll just rotate like we did last year, but, you know, get that schedule set so Kyle could properly prepare and all those departments can as well. So thank you, Lauren.
Anita?
To the chair, I'd like to hear from a couple of the department heads about when we start dealing with the budget, particularly from the police and the fire side. But we'd like to hear from them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Kyle, let's make that our priority over the next 2 weeks to really get a schedule put together. Is that okay?
I understand, and I will contact Valencia, and maybe one afternoon, either before the end of this week or early next week, are you able on a phone call or Zoom to at least, or your committee, the finance committee, at least, so we can maybe talk about me scheduling some dates and trying to get some materials to you to start this conversation?
Yeah.
Okay. I will work with Valencia.
Okay. Okay, any other items for discussion under miscellaneous here? Okay. I will take a motion then from Anita.
Yes. Through the chair, I make a motion to take items 1 through 17 to the full council for further consideration.
All right, I'll second that.
And motion to adjourn?
I second that. We are adjourned here at 5:45. Thank you, everyone. See you